One of the work I did was work underwater, inspections. So they sent me to a course in Sydney. I said I wanted the course because I want some recognition and paperwork so I can show it if anything happens, right? Be recognized, nice, and have a paper for it, you know. So they sent me to Sydney. What's the called Underwater Training Centre, UTC, Underwater Training Centre. They had a barge out in Yowie Bay in Sydney. And first what I had to do, they wanted to check me if I able to go underwater and don't get claustrophobia. They checked me for claustrophobia. And so they bolted me up in that old diving suit, which is not used anymore for work, but which is just simple. You have an inlet valve and you have an outlet valve. And you have a brass button. If you get in trouble, you push the big brass button to get rid of the air. Otherwise you shoot to the surface and you get the bends, right? So we had to do that fast, and then on the platform we had set up welding and cutting underwater. Steel plates thick up to 3 inches. You can cut like butter with the equipment we had, you know, like this, which means we had electrodes with holes in the middle too, and connected to oxygen. And when you strike the arc, you pull the trigger. So the oxygen comes through, and that's where you can cut right through, right? And welding, every night we had a board where we had about 12, we got ready 12 electrodes for the welding. We had to dip in sort of a solution which is like wax and so on, right? And the welding itself is one of the easiest welding anyone can do, because you can lie the electrode straight on the plate and you can weld, but you can't see it. So you have to look underneath to see the weld, because the rest is all bubbles. And then in Darwin, they built a Navy base, right? And they asked the Navy diver come up from Melbourne, and they asked me to be his buddy diver, right? So we did a grid search. A grid search is looking for old bombs. With the war was there, they dropped quite a few bombs. We looked for something like anything, obstructions like that. And later on, we built another wharf, a new one in Darwin, and I did all the underwater inspections, days after days, when they're driving the parts. I see any damage, goes all in the right position, or whatever. I was there nearly every day, so I hired out my boat, and I usually have about half a dozen bottles in my boat, because I wasn't going deep, so I could dive all day more or less, you know. And that was also my job, like underwater work. And in New Guinea, we did head walls in the wharf we built, on concrete walls down and supports down into the sea. And there was concrete, and it was shuttered up, and it was called tremie concrete. It had to have a 7-inch millimeter slump, and then the cone, they got it to a cone and put the concrete. And the concrete was displacing the water, and it came slowly up, right? Some place up was some windows, some timber. We opened them, and where the slush and water couldn't come up. Then we nailed them in again, then the concrete went on for the next stage, right? And next stage, till we reached the top. And that was underwater concrete, and the concrete itself was first-class concrete. Wow. Because you got cooling straight away in the water, right? But this was called tremie concrete, and you could notice the cone where the concrete went through, and you only lifted a little bit of itself. You do not mix it with the water. Yeah. So the concrete was displaced in the water. It was just optional, beautiful concrete. And other inspections, little ones and so on, like for instance, in Darwin, I had to do all the tanks, all the water tanks. I had to inspect for leaks because they've had some leaks. And then pointed out where to dig underwater photos. And later on, they could shut down the tank and they would repair. And that was my job, part of my job, right? Which was, I liked it. I loved it, in fact, and most enjoyable, right? And on a Friday night, when I was under the wharf inspecting, I usually shot a couple of fish because end up in the office upstairs there at the cellar, we have a few drinks and barbecue, and I have to bring the fish up. Yeah, that is say, look, they were the best times. I'm very lucky. I have been very lucky all my life. I would say never, always lucky and willing to do what I wanted to do, all right? And, well, that's fantastic. Also another part of my life, We're talking about the lighthouse which we built on Fish Reef, where a ship went on ground, and I think it was called the Mauna Loa. And Darwin, there was another lighthouse, Charles Point. The ship went too close to shore and ended up as a wreck. So we built a lighthouse in that area on Fish Reef, all right? So it's got the mainland and Fish Reef and Charles Point and Lex Lighthouse, all right? And then from Charles Point to Darwin. We started off building. It was not easy because we had to wait 3.5 hours till the tide goes down, so we could dig a hole and put the concrete and reinforcing and started off the foundation, right? And then make sure to shutter it in so it doesn't get washed by the sea. Then we had to wait for a while again until the tides were right. We went out again in the night, roughly sometimes 2, 3 in the morning, and sat over the reef until it went down, and so we could build again the next section. Yeah. The next section was 1 meter high, and it was still shuttering, and we built the concrete, and we left that one again for a few days, came back, and like I said, it was a steel slip form, and we slipped it up further for the next stage and for the next stage, right? Then came back again and put the last section with the platform. It's also concrete, right? Where the lights are fitted, the lights and for the ships. And that sort of was Fish Reef. And later on, I will tell you a story, or can tell you now, between Charles Point and Fish Reef, that's where we're going to be buried, Jane and I. Yes, that's where we're going to be buried. We spent so much time out there, right? And that's where we end up. I got Jane with me. And when I die, all right, my friend of mine's got a big boat up there, and he promised to take us out and put us on the spot. And then he will send me the coordinates so I know exactly where we are. We're talking about now, about my work in Darwin. And we talk about Peter McMinn, who was my chief engineer, which I was lucky and had a chief engineer which was dying. And we went to his farewell before he died in the Silent Club in Darwin, right? And he gave me that letter. And it was recognition of the work I did. And he was a top engineer. And occasionally he would come out to Arnhem Land and see what I was doing, what work I was into. And I was building infrastructure, water to the communities. One of the first ones I remember is Croker Island, and Goulburn Island, Menangeeta, Ramangini, Galavinko, and a few others over in the Good Island area. He would come out occasionally, wouldn't he? Yeah. And at the end, he got very sick, right? His heart, and he knew he was going to pass away not too long to go. So he organized a party at the Sailing Club, a farewell party. And that's why he gave me that letter as a recognition. He recognized my work, and I'm very proud of it to have that letter. Right? And not long ago, then afterwards, he did die, and he was, like I say, one of a top men, not just an engineer, he was a top man also. Yeah. Okay. We talk about the artificial reef outside a Lee Point. And the reef itself was called Angle Reef. There wasn't artificial, it was Angle's Reef. But I was placing the bottle washer, a steel structure from Coca-Cola bottle area, which they shut down in Darwin. So they gave me the bottle washer, which was quite a big structure. And they got some other pipes and other steel structures. That reef is not just the bottle washer. It is the structure of a crane which collapsed and was not able to use it again, right? So we used it also in junction with the bottle washer to sink it, right? We cut it in sections so we can get it on the barge. And towed it out with the barge out to a location just off Angler's Reef. And that was the first artificial reef in that area, right? And now there must be dozens. People sank it because the fishing is that good, right? So we sank, it was quite dangerous in a way because we had to loop two tanks filled with air to tow it out. And then we had to make it loose, the slings, and to cut them was just a bang, like we didn't hit it. It shows you here, where we just cut it. And that one was the first artificial reef in the area. And it took only about 2 weeks or so before the fish were already on it for fishing, Alcoa is a big aluminium factory in Geelong. I was asked to build the Davis Cup traveling case, and which was quite an interesting job. And the aluminium I had to use was very hard, and it was tried a few times to get a 1/4-inch radius corners. And after many tries, and I did get it there, and the fitter, Bennett, he fitted the locks. There was about 4 locks. It's the Davis Cup traveling case. It looks straightforward, but it was very difficult because the aluminium was that hard. And when I bent the aluminium, I always got stretch marks. So I couldn't use it. So I had to try something else. So eventually I ended up like a sandwich. The same aluminium, then the box, then another aluminium, the same size, the 3 of them, like a sandwich. I bent that with a huge bender, and I had no stretch marks. So yeah, it was a tricky job. It looks quite easy, but it wasn't. Yeah. And here was presented in the Bank of Geelong for show. Right. This also was a recognition to be able to ask to build the case. Anyway, that's the Davis Cup traveling case.